Hey everybody, how's it going? This is it, my second video about now my 2 years and something after my open heart surgery. And I'm just deciding to do it because I saw how many people actually commented on the video and how many people are thankful about it and how it actually helped a lot of people to go through a procedure like this, so complicated. I had no idea so many people would actually listen and watch the whole thing and actually get something out of it. So I guess that's pretty good. So I'm making the second one, the second year one, and I don't think I'm gonna do it every year unless something major happens. But I'm thinking something maybe on 5 years I can do something else, unless there's a lot of questions or you guys want me to talk something different or anything happens that needs updating. But let's get right to it. First of all, I want to thank everybody for watching and commenting and just uh, just your kind words about how you guys really like the video. And I'm gonna update of what happened since my last video and throughout this whole last year. So if you haven't watched my first one, that's where I go into details of what happened during the open heart surgery, the history of it, how to prepare for the surgery, uh, the first year of trying to get back to normal, back to regular life, and all the process, going to the doctors and everything. All of this is on my first video. So if you haven't watched it and you feel like doing so, please be my guest. But this one is just an update on it. Um, I'm reading some scripts because there's a lot to say. First of all, a lot of people were asking how, if I still feel pain, if I still hear my clicks, uh, and how is it getting back to normal 1 year after? So pain, I feel nothing. There's literally no pain. Like I have my scar, which is much better, is almost invisible now, which is weird. I thought it was going to be much larger. And I feel almost no pain, or no pain at all, actually, except in some rare occasions. And my clicks, I hear it if I stop to hear it, or if I'm recording something. Like most of you already know that I'm a sound designer. I work recording sounds, and I can hear it through it, which is very funny. Um, but no, if I'm not paying attention, I have no idea about the clicks. I totally forgot about them. Uh, and some people that actually enter my studio or my room, they say, well, what is this sound? Are you wearing a watch? It's like, no, that's my heart. And I don't even bother explaining anymore. It's been so long that it's so normal to me now that it just doesn't matter. and you don't hear it. I don't hear it. And again, just to talk and be very explicit, this is all about my opinion about what's happening to me, because a lot of people were asking me medical opinions. Like, ask your doctor, okay? This is all about what I think, what I feel, and what I feel like sharing, okay? So it's all personal. Don't take my word as God something very to 100% precise. If you really have a serious question, ask your doctor. Um, Another thing that changed throughout the last year is that I stopped bothering so much about it. On the first year, I was very, very paranoid about my INR and how to keep it under control. And it was very, very strict. If I missed one dose of salad, I would be very nervous and try to be very, very, very consistent, which is very important. But after a while, I started figuring out that it takes 3 to 4 days for your body to adjust for a meal. So that's for me, right? Each person is different. But if I miss one dose of salad, maybe it's not the end of the world. Or if I eat a little bit more spinach one day, maybe it's not the end of the world either, right? I test my blood once every 3 weeks, unless there's something that I feel like I need testing before, but usually it's 3 weeks. And it's pretty much spot on. My range is between 2 and 3, and it's almost always 2.5 now. Sometimes it goes to 3.1, sometimes it goes to 1.9, but it keeps in that range, which is very good. I I drink a little bit more without being too concerned about it, besides like other problems that can have in the kidney. The INR regarding drinking, that little that I drink, it's irrelevant now. So I don't stress too much about it. I drink three, 4 beers when I go out, and that's it. I don't go on crazy parties anymore. well, I go to crazy parties, but I don't get crazy in those parties. But it's normal now. So that changed a lot. So it bothers me less. I get less paranoid a little bit. About dizziness, a lot of people were asking me about how do I feel about dizziness, if it all stopped and everything. It stopped for a really long time, but now I feel it sometimes. I feel dizzy when it's too hot or when I do too much exercise, which I think is maybe normal. But sometimes when I stand up too fast and I'm like, okay, I wasn't feeling that before. So maybe it's time for another checkup with doing an echocardiogram or so. I'm sure everything is fine, but it can be a million things, right? But dizziness comes and go, not near as before, not as much as before, but once in a while I feel a little bit dizzy. But I'm also doing a lot of long hours at work. That's why it's not exactly on the 2 years that I'm releasing this video. 2 years and a bit, I'm doing a lot of hours and shipping a game right now. So I didn't really have time. So it can be because I'm tired. Who knows, right? It can be a million things. But all in all, is great. I don't feel that much. I think that I should probably book an echo every 2 years, at least. I think ideally would be every year, like I used to before my surgery. But that's something that to keep in mind. Nobody's going to remind you that it's time to book another cardio. You have to just call him and say, hey, I think it's time for a checkup. And then you just do it. At least here in Canada, it seems to be like that. Other thing that came back pretty much to normal, I'm back to totally regular rehearsals with my band. So that's pretty cool. We've been playing loud. So for those people who think that too much sound or too much bass can dislodge the valve or something like that, it didn't happen to me. I play rock and heavy metal, and it's pretty loud. Always protect my ears. But I don't feel a thing, like long, big basses, bass drum, all of that, not a problem at all. I already played a few shows, which is great. So I think it's pretty normal. The only difference is that now I'm much sober when playing, which is good, I think, at least for my health. But life almost 100% normal now. It's for the bike. Another thing that I can say is that last year, I can talk about traveling a bit. A lot of people ask me about planes and all that. And I think on last video I mentioned it a bit, but I had way more experience traveling now. I traveled so much. I've been to Montreal, I've been to Los Angeles, I've been to Brazil. I'm gonna talk later about Europe. But when I went to Brazil the last time, my INR was very high. So you just have to learn to control it. It was 4, I think, when I got the plane. And the only thing is that I used my machine to measure the INR, the soft clicks. And you just learn to control it on your own after a while. I knew, okay, if it's 4 now, maybe I should take a little bit less warfarin. That's what my doctor told me. My doctor told me if I'm past 4, skip a dose. And a lot of people are against that, but I follow what my doctor tells me because he's been with me since I started this. He tells me to skip a dose. I'm too afraid of skipping a dose, so I take half. And the only difference of taking half is that it's going to be a slower process to get the INR down. And I eat more salads during that day, and I measure every 2 days until it's back to normal. So it goes a little bit of a yo-yo, but nothing too crazy, and it usually goes back to normal pretty fast. And what happens at this time that I went to Brazil, I think last time I mentioned it was very high, and it stayed high all this time, during all my travel. This time it was high on the first day when I got the plane. When I arrived, I had my salads in the airport. I took 1 pill less, I think, of warfarin. When I arrived, I measured again, back to the regular range. and it stayed in range throughout the whole trip, which was great because I was eating a lot of different things. But I had to remember to always eat my salad. So if I go to a restaurant, I'm gonna spend more money. There's no out of it, right? So if I eat a lot of salad here, I have to keep eating lots of salads to maintain that INR that I have. If I eat less salads, I have to take less medicine. So I prefer to just shove some lettuce in my face once in a while to get my INR in range. So if we go to a restaurant, an Italian restaurant, we eat pasta, I just order a side of Caesar salad just to have my portion of salad. It's more expensive, but that's life now. Whatever, right? And it worked great. So nothing major happened. I had one big event this last year, and that was pretty interesting. And probably a lot of people have a lot of questions regarding that. I had to take my wisdom tooth out. And pretty bad timing because I'm on warfarin right now and I was working a lot and it was very stressful. So I'm gonna tell a little bit about that process of taking a tooth out. So my tooth started aching a lot late last year. It was last year? Yeah, I think it was last year, around November. And I say, oh, it's gonna pass. It didn't pass. It was an agonizing 2 weeks of pain. It was pretty bad, so I went to the dentist, and the dentist said, oh, you gotta talk to your doctor. So I had to go to my general physician, and he told me, oh, you have to go to the surgeon of the teeth, and you have to go to your cardiologist. So it was a chain of doctors just to take a tooth out, which is much more annoying than a regular healthy person. So I first went to my GP. He told me to not take warfarin for 5 days. No, sorry. He told me to not take warfarin for 4 days. Then I went to my cardiologist and he told me to not take warfarin for 2 to 4 days. Because you have to get your INR low, right? They can't do a procedure that bleeds a lot with your INR high. So it gotta be under 1.5, I think, or around 1.5, which is low. It's below your range. And that keeps you thinking, it's like, wait, the doctors are actually telling me to be below my range. So I guess what that means is that it just increases your risks of clots. It increases your risk of having a problem. It doesn't mean you're gonna die immediately when you're out of range, which is a lot of people freak out. It's like, oh my God, I'm 1.9, I'm 1.8. What do I do? Relax and go back to normal. Like, just try to get it up to range again. So what happened, they told me to be between 2 and 4 days out of warfarin. So I had to call my dentist, make sure I had the date booked in order for me to have 3 days of no warfarin and no aspirin. And what happened, I had to take for 3 days before the surgery or 2 days before the surgery, I had to take antibiotics, and they told me to keep taking it after a week, but they couldn't prescribe me. They could only prescribe me the antibiotics for before the surgery, because the dentist should prescribe the rest. Strange system. But what happened, I went to the dentist and she took an x-ray and saw that it was bad, and I had the bad, it was very hard to clean that one. So I had a cavity that went to the bone. So it's like she said, yeah, you have to take it out. So I told her about all those problems, about warfarin and all that. And I booked a date. And when I was going to stop taking warfarin, they called me and said, we can't do it. Like, it's too dangerous for us. Go to a specialized dentist that only does surgery. So I called this other place that was more expensive. And he had a consultation with me and we booked a day. And after we booked a day, I stopped taking warfarin, took my antibiotics. I got there and it was very scary because I don't know what was going to happen. Oh yeah, before that actually. I was measuring my INR with my machine every single day when I stopped. And I think my INR started at 2.8 on the first day, and then it went to 2.4, and it stayed for 2.4 for 2 days, even without taking warfarin. And then on the day of the surgery, I think it was 1.8. So it was around 1.5, so it was okay for the dentist. So I went there. I couldn't take aspirin that day either. I went there and the doctor told me to, he was gonna give me all the medicines for the teeth, and he pulled it out. It was super quick. I think it was 5 minutes. I never seen something that quick. I didn't feel a thing. It was super fast, but it didn't bleed that much at the time, but I had to keep pressing the cotton against my teeth for the whole day. So I tried to come home. Whoever lives in Vancouver know how terrible the taxi system is, and you can't get one sometimes for like, you just can't find one. There's no Uber here, so you can't call one, and they don't show up if you call them. And I was near my work to say, whatever, I'm just gonna go to work. So I went to work and I was with a lot of medicine, and then I almost fell asleep at work because that medicine made me sleepy. And every 2 hours I had to clean everything, make sure I put all the medicine to keep it clean, keep pressing and changing the cotton on the teeth. It was a lot of work, and it didn't stop bleeding until at night, like very little blood, but every time I took the cotton out, that was pretty soaked. So I think that's a downside of being on warfarin. And I forgot to tell, the dentist said that I don't need to take the antibiotics, but I'm very skeptical. Everybody told me to take antibiotics, so I went back to my GP, and then he prescribed me the antibiotics back. So I kept taking them. And in the next day on the day of the surgery at night, I could take my warfarin again, the regular dosage my doctor told me to take. So I took the regular dosage, and the next morning it was 1.5. So it went down even though I took it at night. That's to show you how long it takes for your body to process this medicine, and your diet. And I was very lucky that my girlfriend took care of the food for me, because I didn't prepare at all. I totally underestimated the pain and how healing teeth works. And I thought, I'm just gonna eat my lettuces, it's gonna be fine. So she made me a lot of soup, and she told me, no, you're taking those soup home because you won't be able to eat your things. And obviously I couldn't. The number one things that I couldn't eat was grains. I couldn't eat leaves, like anything that gets stuck between the teeth, I couldn't eat. So props for her for doing that. Because yeah, so if you're taking your teeth out, prepare food, soups. So anyway, continuing on the warfarin. So the first day was 1.5, I think, after the surgery, and I think I took it again. So on the next day I measured again at home, and it was 1.4. And then only after 2 or 3 days it went back into range, which was okay because I wasn't eating my salads during that time, and so my INR was going to rise because I couldn't eat those salads. And I only start eating slowly my salads when my INR actually got back to the regular range. And it didn't go up, it didn't shoot up after, because sometimes that happens when you go down and you take your medicine to compensate, sometimes it shoots up and then you have to bring it down again. So no, it actually went to 2.5 and stayed. It was great. And my tooth took about 2 months to 100% heal. But on my first 2 weeks, it was very painful, and it still had a bit of blood sometimes, so it took a really long time to heal. So I think on warfarin, it takes longer for anything to heal. Even when I go to the gym and I run, it seems like my muscles take longer to heal from when I didn't take warfarin. When I lift weights, it takes longer. When I take blood, it takes longer. I get purple. So I guess that's another downside of warfarin. Your body is just slower to heal anything because it's not clotting. It's not healing properly. It's taking it's literally 2.5 longer to clot. So I guess it takes 2.5 longer to heal as well. So that was interesting. So the takeaway of that is, don't freak out if it goes past your range for a little bit. Just try to control it. You're not going to die instantly. It's very dangerous to be below range for a long time because it will create a clot and you are going to maybe have an aneurysm, or it's not an aneurysm, I forgot how to say, when a clot goes to the brain or a clot goes to the heart. That can happen. Your chances are higher, but that doesn't mean you're going to die immediately. And I know some people from the Facebook group that I talked in my last video that actually had complications because their INR was so low, but their INR was low for who knows, for months sometimes, and they didn't know. So just keep an eye on it, but don't lose your mind if it goes a little bit below range, a little bit over the range. It happens, and I'm here and I'm functioning fine. I should probably just go to the doctor, make sure I have no residues or whatever in my valve. So that was interesting. What else can I say? So, oh yeah, another thing that happened this year was my longest trip to a place that I haven't been before. So I've been to Europe with my girlfriend for two weeks and a half. And that was the strangest one for my condition, because I was going to go to a place where I'm not with family, so I won't have my salads handy everywhere. I don't know what type of food, what type of restaurants, and the schedule, the time changes, and so many countries and taking trains. So it took a lot of planning, but again, like I said before, with a meal, sometimes I just had a meal and I order an extra set of salad. Or if they didn't have salad at restaurants, sometimes they have just kale salads because people love kale those days. Or if they have something just like that that is not too good, I would just go to the supermarket and buy a little baggie of salad. You know, even the hardest place that I thought I wouldn't find salads, like in Venice, because it's an island and, you know, everything, it's harder to get there. I found salads there. So it was pretty easy. And I was a bit nervous about this because I was drinking more. I was having wine every day. I was eating stuff that I don't usually eat. So my whole diet changed during this trip. And every single time that I measured with my machine, first I measured a week after we arrived, because I measured the day before the trip and it was in range. And a week after I measured and was like, oh my God. And that's a good reminder to drink a lot of water before taking your blood. So I pricked my finger, no blood. I lost 4 or 5 strips because I thought I had enough blood and it wasn't coming out, and I was trying to exercise my hand and make the blood flow. Nothing was working. I had a little bit under what the machine needed. So every time I put my blood on the strip, it gave me an error saying not enough blood. So you lose that strip, and that's expensive. So I lost 5 or 6 strips, 4 to 6 strips, just that night trying to get the blood. And I was like, oh my God, and my honor is going to go crazy and I'm going to have enough strips, even though I bought a box just for that trip. And I was very nervous, and so I drank a lot of water, and I put my hands in warm water and tried to jump a bit to get the blood flowing. And after a little bit, I got enough blood, and 2.5 is right in range. So it was normal. And then I measured a week later, and it was 2.4, totally normal. And it was very weird because during this whole trip, my INR was 100% in range, and I was not expecting that at all. So that was good. So that made the trip even better. And time changes didn't change anything. The food didn't change anything. You just have to remember, say, hey, I'm having lunch. How much vitamin K should I have right now? A bit more, maybe a bit less. Maybe if you don't eat salad one night, have a bit more the next day, and it should work just fine. That was my major event of the year, with my tooth getting extracted. So a lot of things happened. I don't know what else I should say. I think this is about it for an update of a year. Work life, as I said, 100% back to normal. So gym, 100% back to normal. I'm running almost every day, besides me gaining weight. And I gain weight because I'm just eating more and not getting so nervous about drinking beer. So that's made me gain a little bit of weight and eating more chocolate. Which I shouldn't, but sure, whatever. I gotta enjoy, right? What else can I say? I think a lot of people were asking about depression post the surgery, and that they were getting too sad and thinking that they're dying, and it is a hard time. So I can talk a bit about that. I don't have that. I don't have any type of depression post surgery, but it got me more aware of death, that's for sure. So if I feel too dizzy, or if I hear, sometimes your heart can have arrhythmia, And because it clicks, then if there's something out of rhythm, then you will feel it, and you'll feel a bit different, and you're like, oh, what is that? Apparently it's totally normal for everybody, like even people who didn't have the surgery. But every single time something is out of normal, I stop and it's like, okay, is this it? Like, do I need to call an ambulance, or is it gonna go back to normal? And of course, every time it got back to normal. But at least me got more aware of death, and then that is probably easier, I don't know, for me to die than a regular person, right? I have higher risks. If you take a 100% healthy person and me that has to take warfarin, has to take other type of medicine like the aspirin, has to have a consistent diet, all of those little things, they add up, right? So I'm more aware of this. But granted, like a regular person, a person that is healthy can get hit by a bus and die before me, right? This is just how life works. But I am more aware of it. So one thing that changed is that I stopped giving even more damns about some stuff. Like I don't stress as much about some things. I stress more about others. Like I stress more about work because I want, to accomplish something cool, maybe quicker than a regular person would like to accomplish. I don't know, but I want to get my name out there. But things that don't matter that much, and I used to stress a little bit, I just don't even bother anymore. It's I might die before a regular person. That's how I think. I might not. I might live until 400 years. Who knows? I might need to have another open heart surgery to change this valve, or I might not. And those mights and might nots, they add up, right? Because it can be 100% normal, but it cannot be as well. But no one knows. There is no way to know that. But you end up being more aware of it, that it can happen, and it has more chance of happening than a healthy person. I have more chances of ending up in a hospital than a healthy person for this reason, right? A healthy person can get cancer, a healthy person can have a kidney disease or anything. And I'm also aware if I get any of those other diseases, it's going to be way more complicated. If taking the tooth out, that is supposed to be something simple, was very hard to maintain, right? Like bleeding a lot and stopping warfarin and going to a bunch of doctors. Went to 4 doctors just to get a tooth out, right? It's usually not like that. So I am more aware that if I have a kidney stone, that's going to be a big complication, right? It's not a regular, it's already a big complication for a regular person, but for me it's going to be much harder than for a regular person. If I get cancer or something like that, who knows what the hell is going to happen, right? There's no way to know, because how are all those medicines are going to interact? And people say like, oh, you can't think about that, it can happen to anybody. Yeah, of course. But that's why I say that I don't have any type of depression after the surgery, but I am aware of things. I think that's it. It's more aware of everything around and how life, and not life, but how the body kind of works, right? Because it's just more complicated. It can happen. Not saying that it will. Hope it doesn't. Probably won't. But if it happens, it's an extra weight. So that's my take on it. So no, all those people saying about getting sad after, a lot of people do. A lot of people were telling me that they got PTSD, and that's a real thing. A lot of people can't see hospitals anymore after the surgery. A lot of people get nervous when they see doctors. A lot of people get nervous when they go to doctors. But it really goes from person to person. There's no answer to that. Like each person deals with it differently. Some people got 2 valves replaced. Some people got 1. Some people had root problems. I only changed an aortic valve. I didn't have any root problems yet. It can happen. I have no problems with my mitral valve. I don't think I will have. It's perfectly healthy. So each person deals with it differently. I am more aware of death. I think that I might die earlier than if I didn't have this. I don't know. But it's just how it is, right? Like I said in the other video, that I just suck it up. One person that watched the video didn't like that comment. But again, that's my take on it. It is what it is. There's nothing that can be done, literally. That is life now, and to be honest, it's not that bad. Everything is 100% normal. It just adds a little bit of extra weight, right? So there are contingencies. You can't party like crazy anymore if you do. You can't get tattoos anymore, even though I'm probably gonna get a small one still because I like them, right? You just choose your own risks. That's the takeaway. Like there are higher risks for us who makes this surgery, and it's up to you if you're gonna take that risk or not. So that's basically sucking it up, right? That's what I mean by that, is you just have to own that you have this problem, and that's how life is gonna be. There's no way back, like 100% there's no way back from the surgery. Like your life changed, but like everything else, like you just got to embrace the change and ride with it. Good or bad, you have to ride with it. It's because that's you now. That's whoever did the surgery, that's how it is now. So things are gonna change, things will change, but honestly, I don't think is the worst that could happen. There's way worse things that could happen. And besides having to be on medicine forever, it's not that hard to control. At least for me, it's not being hard to control. I am aware of what if something crazy happens? What if there's an earthquake, right? I live in Vancouver. I know that if there's an earthquake and I'm in a place where I don't have my medicines, what's gonna happen? Am I not gonna take warfarin for the night? Am I gonna be able to go home to get my medicines? Sometimes when I walk with a backpack, I have usually 3 days of medicine. But what's going to happen with the pharmacies, right? Those are things that a normal person don't think, a healthy person. But when you depend on medicine to live, because if I don't take it, something will happen one day or another. Even though some people take years without taking warfarin before something happens. Some people just days, so take your medicines. But what will happen, right, if there's no medicines on a pharmacy because an earthquake happened and there's no more bridges and, the state is in emergency? A healthy person don't think that. I have to think about that. Do I have backups? Do I have medicine somewhere else, right? My life literally depends on it. And if you think, that's never gonna happen, you can't think about those things, then you're screwed if that happens. Right? It's not one of those world-ender thoughts, because we live in a place that can have a major earthquake, just like Los Angeles. It's a different fault, but it's just like Los Angeles. But if it happens, I need to have my medicine. Like there is no escape. So I need to have backups. Maybe I need to have some more medicines at work. I need to have some medicines on me. Like what if I'm in the middle of the street while that happens? And then I can't go to work and I can't go home. I need to have it with me a little bit. So those are things you have to think. So you ride with your problems. You have to think of solutions for things that might happen, that are likely to happen. But I went way off on a tangent here. But I guess that's mostly it. This video is not as fancy as the other one. I'm not putting images because I'm tired from working too much. But hopefully it helps you in some way, just like the other one did. It's just an update, right? Even though like this last 10 minutes I'm talking about thought of life, which might help a lot of people. A lot of people ask me that. That's why I'm talking about this. But you can see that I'm doing totally well. I have no problems whatsoever. I'm feeling totally normal, recording a video, still, in the same place with some upgrades. But yeah, life goes on and it's 100% normal. Well, 95% normal, besides the contingencies. So yeah, if you're watching this video, thank you. If you went through the whole thing. hopefully it helped some questions that you might have, just like the first video did. If you guys have more questions, maybe if there's a lot of questions, maybe I record another video just answering questions from my experience. I don't answer too much on YouTube, like comments, because I don't, you know, I just don't have the time to go and like answer comment by comment. So I read them all, and it was really good to read them. And hopefully I'm answering most of those questions here in this video, which I think it's a bit nicer to do. So yeah, maybe comment if you have any questions. Maybe I do another video. Maybe I do an update if something major happens, like maybe they have a new discovery of a new valve that don't need warfarin. Then I'm probably gonna make a video about it. Or maybe I give an update next year if something else happens, or maybe I do a 5-year video. I don't know. You guys tell me what you guys want, and I'm gonna make it happen. All right. So thank you for watching again. Hopefully it helped. Don't worry, life is normal. And if you're still going through surgery, everything is going to be totally fine. The risks of this surgery are very, very low. Okay, almost everybody makes it. Like the very large majority of people are totally fine with it and goes out of the hospital after 3 to 6 days. So everything's going to be good. Don't worry about it. Hopefully it helped, right? See ya.